Hi, welcome.
Welcome. We're excited that you're here. I guess we can go ahead and get started, or maybe I guess we give people a few
Yeah, maybe
moments.
another minute. I think the numbers are climbing, so a few seconds.
Yeah, we'll be answering questions along the way, so feel free to even put in now questions that you kind of hope we'll cover or address in this webinar, and we'll try to talk about them when that particular slide is, or go from there. Also, sorry, I guess over here, there's my dog in the background too. She'll probably just lay there the entire time. She
Oh,
just
Izzy.
she just had dinner. Yep, Izzy. So she doesn't bark, so she should be pretty quiet this time. But if she gets up
Good.
and does a little shake, it's because why?
Yeah. Well, we're looking for some entertainment,
Yeah,
Erica, so
exactly.
take it away. All right. And looks like Alex just sent you guys a welcome message. So,
All right. You want to get started, Evan?
sure,
What
let's
do you
do it.
think? Okay. The first
Yes.
few are just kind of general um, things to talk about. So I guess we can jump right in. My name is Erica Carey, and I am one of the co-presenters for today. I serve as the Associate Director of Career Development, which you'll understand a little bit more about in a second here.
And I'm Evan Young. I am the Associate Director for Employer Relations, and I am Erica's coworker
um,
and presenter for today.
yeah.
Co-presenter.
So we're really excited to be here. We know that whether you deposited or you're considering what your options are for college, that choosing a college and knowing about a career center is a really important part of that process, right? So knowing what internships and co-ops are available to you, what resources are out there, and what that really looks like. So again, feel free to just ask us questions along the way, and we'll do our best to answer them. And we'll put in the chat box maybe our emails at the end of this if you have any questions that you want to follow up on or things you think about down the road, wanting to make sure you make kind of a broad decision. Yeah, so this is just a little information about our office. So we are located kind of central to campus, which is helpful. It's easy to kind of pop in between classes right in the middle of campus. We have a Starbucks in our building, and so you can grab a coffee, stop downstairs for one of our walk-in hours. So we offer walk-ins, designated hours every day to come in and have a resume reviewed, talk about a job offer, get some help looking at an application package, whatever it is that might look like for you. So those are our walk-in hours that we have, but we're open 8:30 to 5 o'clock every day. If you have any questions, there's our CCPD email. Feel free to email us. That goes to me, and I will respond to it or direct those questions to the correct person after this sort of webinar. And to give you an idea a little bit about our team, so this is sort of our staff. Again, I'm Erica, I'm the Associate Director. So we have sort of three major umbrellas that we'll talk about. We have our Employer Relations team, which I'll let Evan talk about, and then our Career Development team, and which I'll talk about, and then we have an Employer Relations team, Experiential Learning team, and they work more with the internship and co-op process. So making sure you get registered correctly for your internships and co-ops that you have, checking in with you. You'll be enrolled in a course while you're on an internship and co-op, just to make sure everything is going okay. If you have any issues that we can help with and kind of interject with, and then helping you really get prepared with all the steps leading up to it ahead of time. And so if you have questions about any of those other areas, let us know. And then we have a career counseling team. And so the career development team is the team that helps you sort of think about anything from, I saw a few of you are maybe undecided. So either like what major or academic area do I want to go into? or what really is all I can do with, an aero degree or a cognitive science degree, or what does it mean to go into data analytics or whatever that might look like, right? So what opportunities are available to me within my field? And then how do I tailor my application materials? Where do I look specifically? How do I leverage networks? What employers are, appealing to me? How could an interview process look different for somebody who is going into business as opposed to somebody who's going to computer science? Somebody with electrical engineering, those types of things. So to be on top of industry trends and norms. So we have a team that works with that. And you'll see here that we have career counselors who are designated for each college or school. So, for example, Bulos works specifically with the School of Science, right? So he works mostly with our computer science students, ITWS, chemistry, biology, so on and so forth, and helping you through that so they can really be sort of content area experts for each of those industries. So regardless of where you decide to go to school, I hope it's RPI. I think that's an important model to ask questions about when you're kind of navigating that process. We also have specific career counselors who work with different sort of affinity groups. So if that's athletes, students who are transfer students who might have disabilities, whatever it is that looks like for you, we have specific career counselors who serve as liaisons for those different areas to be supportive in different programming efforts or resources or things that might connect with you. So when we think about these different teams, like why we have different teams, right? So we all kind of work together, right? So the career development team is what is your story and how do you tell it, right? So what makes you uniquely competitive as opposed to all of those other students who are mechanical engineers, right? And how do we help you find opportunities, if that's internships or experiential learning more broadly, campus projects, on-campus research, study abroad, whatever that looks like, right? When you're thinking about what you want your time at RPI to look like, how do we craft a meaningful experience so that you're competitive, right? And that's kind of where the experiential learning team also helps out with that process, right? So how do we help design and connect you to those opportunities? And then the employer relations side is, right, like who do we want to tell the story to, which is probably employers or graduate schools, right? So how do we connect students to making those meaningful relationships through that? Evan, do you want to talk a little bit more about your employer relations side and what you all do?
Sure, let's take myself off mute. Yeah, so employer relations, really our team leads the strategy and building relationships with new employers, existing employers. We have a pretty extensive co-op program, so that looks longer than an internship program. So that summer, and then an academic term. We've been doing it for about 30 years now. And we're one of the first schools to introduce it. So that's something that you're going to want to look as you're solidifying your plans to attending a school. As far as like what opportunities do I have to do internships, co-ops, other experiential learning while in school. That's very important. So, and our team manages that on-campus events that employers are doing. Of course, with the current situation, students are taking classes right now online. So we've transitioned quickly to virtual information sessions. Right now, concurrently, IBM is hosting an information session about their summer sales program. So that's just to give one example about that. Thanks, Erica.
Absolutely, yeah. And if there's ever, we get a lot of times students who are interested in a particular type of company, and maybe it's because they're located where that student is geographically from, right? And so they want us to help build connections. So there's that new employer connection, and then there's also that cultivating employer connection, right? And so saw some of you are asking some questions maybe related to this. So what does sort of one-on-one career counseling look like, right? So we use a platform right now called JobLink. We are switching to a new system that I think will be even more comprehensive. And so the things that we can sort of help with, again, major and career exploration, developing application materials. So there's a question here, when do you start working with students to write their resume, and how often do you meet with them to update it? So that's a great question, right? A lot of people's resumes looks different from when they apply to college to when they want to apply for internships. And a student had also asked about, do we assist students in finding internships their freshman and sophomore year? Yes, absolutely. We know that in some companies and some employers and some industries, it can be more common to find sort of those internships after your freshman year. So helping you apply for that process. But we have a pretty high traffic in terms of our walk-ins. And so a lot of students will make it a point to come and see us every semester, right? So if you think about it, coming in and have your resume reviewed, if you're doing it every semester, probably only takes like 20 minutes, right? Like, I want to add on this class, or I want to add on this project, or I took on this clever organization, and how do I put it on there, right? And so that's kind of why we have that liaison model with specific colleges, right? So that you really get to know the career counselor within that specific area. You know, we get to know you well, we get to see you every semester. And when that time comes when maybe you're looking for full-time opportunities or junior level internships or co-ops, since we know you better, we can help kind of think about what are your values and what might that look like for a particular employer. Does that make sense? Looks like, did my video go out?
I think you might be breaking up a little bit.
Okay. It might be my videos.
Yeah.
Having some technical difficulties, but that's okay, as long as you can still hear me. So yes, and then obviously helping you with where to look. So we have a large employer base that post opportunities, getting you connected to those. How to network, right? How do I use LinkedIn? How do I leverage alumni? How do I make professional contacts, right? And how do I search for these opportunities? And then the interview part of the process, right? Like, if you've never had to interview for a co-op or an internship or a full-time role, that might feel like an intimidating process. So we offer both workshops and one-on-one career counseling through that process. We also oftentimes have employers present on that, right? Because it's so important to hear not just from our end, but from that specific employer end. What that might look like. Another big piece too is that we talk to students about is accepting offers and negotiating your salary, right? So if you're looking at an offer package for something like an internship or a co-op, and you want to negotiate a part of that, if you want to make sure everything is accurate, that's a really important part of the process. So again, that's kind of the value of that walk-in. You can get in that day and talk to somebody.
Hey, Erica, could you refresh your browser? Alex said that will help because you're frozen right now.
Am I back?
All right, there you are. Yeah,
Okay, am I
you're
here?
unfrozen.
Okay. Okay. Well, actually, okay, I have to click control slide. There we go. Cool. Let's see. Are there any pointers that you can give as students start building their resume from freshman year? Yeah, so that's a great question. So we see a lot of freshmen come in. We have a program called Freshman Career Compass, which we work with GE on, and they'll come in and even talk about like what are some things you might want to think about as having a freshman or a first year resume, right? So in that first year, there are a lot of things that you can keep on there from high school, right? Like, we recognize that in that first year, there might be that transition time, right? Like you want to get acclimated with your classes and before you jump too much into involvement, right? Or some students are athletes and how do I put that on there? Or they're taking some academic projects that they want to highlight, right? So the school makes a really good effort and to get involved in things like clubs and organizations early on. There are some classes where you'll start developing some of those technical skills, whether that's if you're in computer science, you'll start getting exposed to some of those programming languages or technical skills that maybe you developed from high school. So how do we think about talking about that on a resume? Some of you might have more than like one page of a resume that you use to apply for college, right? So when you're going into industry, it should be one page focused more on industry related like language and technical skills and experiences, but it looks different for everybody what they want to put on that first year, which is again why we just try to make it as accessible as possible to talk to a career counselor in that first year as well. Cool. I can't see these slides very big, but this is an idea of some of the workshops that we host and employer events that we'll do. So workshops, resume and cover letter writing, preparing for a career fair. Evan will talk a little bit about the career fair, networking in LinkedIn, interviewing techniques, and accepting offers, right? And a lot of times we'll try to, as much as possible, have employers also present on these topics. Evan, do you want to talk about the employer events?
So yeah, Erica mentioned the career fairs. There's two major career fairs throughout the year. One in the fall, which is hosted by actually two student groups, and we kind of help them with some of the events, the supplemental events for it. And then our career center runs the spring one. The fall will be interesting this year given all the situation, but we're currently really monitoring it to see what we need to do. And it will be held later in September. And then the spring one is always the first Wednesday in February. Students get plenty of notification through every channel, emails, through JobLink, through your individual schools. So it's a huge event on campus. And then also another things that we do to kind of amplify that is we do individual information sessions for employers, not only around the time of the career fair, but we do them year round. Like I mentioned previously, IBM is doing one today virtually. Luckily, they were going to be on campus, but we switched to virtual since the campus is shut down. We frequently do tech talks too, so not so much about the company and what they're doing, but maybe is there an interesting trend in the industry? Google did a tech talk on cloud computing earlier in March. It was really interesting. It was in our MPAC Center. Some of you might have, as you visited the campus, and you might have been in there. It was really cool, and they had really great topics to speak about. And they also followed it up with a coding competition after the event. Yeah, pretty much through all majors, there's events for someone throughout the year. So, yeah.
Cool. And just to give you an idea of some things that we do, so we every week send out a newsletter for your specific college. It will highlight, as you'll see here, this is one that we just sent out, the list of employer information sessions that we had going on. I think this is the one we sent out last week. Some fast facts of things to think about, job opportunities or internships that were posted for your major, different skills you might want to highlight on your application materials, and then online resources. And as the semester goes on, we put new events and workshops on here as well. This is just an example, again, of some of the different events that we did. We had an employer come and talk about technical interviewing. And so what an employer looks for and tips and tricks for when students might have a technical interview as part of the process. And then as Evan said, a lot of this stuff that's well attended is not necessarily these recruiting events, but this opportunity for you to talk to people who are maybe alumni, to talk about industry growth and industry changes and things you should look for, and things to focus on as you're thinking about your job search. And those could be really helpful to be eventual recruiting tools, right? For opportunities at that particular company
And
or
I did want to
organization as
mention that
well.
a lot of students who attend these types of events do end up getting opportunities because it's an opportunity for you to meet one-on-one with a recruiter afterwards, talk to them, tell them your story and how you'd be a great fit. So we do see a quite a conversion rate on students who do attend these, both in person and virtually, landing opportunities.
Yeah, absolutely. And then this is just an idea of some of the workshops that we do. So on this teal one here, we are doing a different workshop every day while we've moved virtual. Today we did a workshop on how to find opportunities in this upcoming fall or next spring. Um, we have one about how to create your LinkedIn profile, how to leverage your LinkedIn to develop those connections, how do I job search in the time of a global pandemic, what does interviewing look like for introverts, right? So we are offering these types of workshops on the daily, and we record them so that you have access to them in the future to help you with any kind of career question that you might have down the road. And then we offer Resumania each semester, which is a chance for you to have your resume reviewed if you'd like to by an employer of varying different industries, right? And have them look at your resume and get that feedback from an employer perspective, which is a really valuable piece. And we always kind of coordinate a lot of these efforts around getting your resume reviewed and how do I work at career fair and how do I network leading up to the career fairs, which are always kind of week 4 or 5 into the semester, correct, Evan? Like around a month in, right? Which is good timing, right? Like maybe the worst part of your academic coursework hasn't hit just then. So you have that time as you're transitioning back into your semester to really think about your career readiness as well. Cool. So we have a few questions coming in here, so I'm just going to take a little peek at that and see. Evan, it looks like a few of them are employer relations related. So
Sorry, I was on mute.
we do offer Jenna, we do offer if you look online, there is a future plan survey. So that is a list of what employers students are going to, what the average salary is for folks in the academic area. That's on our website, which you can see. So you can see where students are going, what employers they're working for, so on and so forth. So that is probably your most comprehensive and easily accessible data point. We are sending a survey out now to all students who are planning to graduate, both undergraduate and graduate students planning to graduate, to find out what their opportunities are and if they're still looking and how we can provide individualized support for that particular student and helping them secure opportunities. Knowing maybe the job market might look a little different right now than they expected or than it did 4 months ago, right? And so what does that look like? So we're here to support them through that as well. And we also do provide, we're working with alumni relations a lot to really think about what services we provide to our alumni. So we offer unlimited counseling services and access to our job board, as alumni, so that we can help you, whether it's, 4 months after you graduate and you haven't found a job yet, reach back out to us. We have alumni who reach out to us that just want their resume reviewed or are making a career change. Or just have general career questions. And then a lot of those alumni want to come back and recruit our students, right? So there's a great alumni connection and available assistance with that. During the school year, where are the newsletters found? So they get sent to you in an email through our job board. So those are all college specific. So your specific career counselor will send those to you through email weekly.
And I'll take the one referring to are most of the companies that come to the interview to interview local to the capital region, or are they from around the country? So we do have quite the biggest time where we get companies to come to campus from around the country is really around career fair season. Some might come like a week before or even say a week later to keep doing events. So that's, but throughout the year, we do have those kind of one-off ones that will come and do an information session. Also, we do have space on campus where recruiters can utilize to do in-person interviews. So we do still offer that. A lot of them will just travel from the tri-state area too, because it's not far. But for the ones that are, way out west and things, they're probably gonna come around the career fair time to really maximize their opportunities and keep their travel costs down and all that. But like I mentioned, Google was here in March. That's off the career fair season, so it just depends on the company.
I saw someone had a question about COVID-19. What challenges are you facing right now with COVID-19? Do you see a big drop in co-ops and internships? I think we're facing a lot of the same challenges that every university is, and every employer is asking themselves, right? Like, what is our capacity to have interns this summer? Is it safe to have interns this summer, right? For them and for us. And I think a lot of our employers too, you'll find, are working on some of these efforts to do response work for COVID-19, right? So if that's Regeneron or Johnson & Johnson, right, like their efforts are now being shifted to working towards this global pandemic. From the career development end, right? Like, so we are leveraging some of our networks and our connections more to see what opportunities might be available. There are some industries that are thriving, right? And are having an increased hiring need during this time. So how do we let students know about those opportunities and really be competitive through that process, right? Like, so those opportunities that are posted, there might be more people applying to them. So how do we leverage connections that we have? How do we create the best application materials to get our name out there and get considered, right? And how do we kind of keep track of how things are playing out and navigating through that process, right? Evan, I don't know if you have anything to add from
Yeah, I
maybe an
think we're just
employer
focusing
end on
on
that.
who's still hiring, and given that this is so unprecedented, a lot of employers are still trying to figure it out. So we've been trying to help guide them in the decision, and especially when it comes to moving them virtually, because not every position is easily transferred over to a virtual environment. So we're just trying to be there as also as a support system to our employers, and if a student has an offer rescinded, like what other things, like we're looking into micro internships where if a student, they were told, oh, you can't work here anymore, well, you can actually go and do this project to finish out your time. So we're just looking at all different avenues and really to help, grow experience for students in this environment.
Right. Because I think at the end of the day, like, in 2 years when students who feel affected are applying for jobs, like every employer is going to look at back on this time and recognize that maybe a student didn't have as much internship experience, right? Because we were all collectively experiencing this thing together. But a lot of kind of recruiters, if you kind of browse through LinkedIn, what they're more interested in is like, how are you spending this time, right? Like, are you spending this time to maybe learn a new skill, right? Or what is this teaching you about your values? Or what do you want in a work environment? Or are you using this time to develop some connections, right? So there's still time and opportunities to use whatever this looks like to create a meaningful strength or skill or network or career readiness opportunity, right? So thinking about it more broadly. Um, and then are all students seeking a co-op guaranteed one? So I guess if we don't place students in opportunities, if that's what the question is. So like, we're not like, oh, you're mechanical engineering, who wants to do this? Like, you're going to go here, right? Like, we really want to empower you to find the opportunities and employers that work best for you, right? And so, like, Evan, can you give some context, like how many employers go to the career fairs?
Yeah, so we have so at the fall career fair, you're looking at about like 200, just over 200, and then in the spring career fair, it's about 150 to 160 companies. So that's a huge amount, and a lot of them will stay and do information sessions or interview on campus, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So there's plenty of opportunities. Like if
yeah,
you would like a co-op and you're smart about it from the time you enter, you can get a co-op, right? The fields that RPI has to offer
yeah,
academically are ones that are sustainable and are going to
right,
have opportunities, right? When we
right,
come to the situation. And so it's just being smart about it, right? And not having it be, oh, it's March and I want to do a
yeah.
summer internship, right? Like we missed the boat on the career fair. So, which is also why we say develop that relationship with your career counselor early on and make it a regular thing to practice. So that when that time comes when you do look for opportunities, you'll feel a little bit more equipped with your resources. I hope that answers
Yeah,
your
and you don't want us
question.
choosing where you want to go. You want it to be autonomous and
Yeah,
have that because it might not be the best fit, and only really what is going to be the fit, you and the company. So
right. And some people like an internship works better than a co-op, which is why we don't necessarily have like an implemented co-op program in an educational program, right? So it's kind of at your agency, when you do these things. Um, there's a lot of different ways that an internship and co-op are different from one another. Somebody asked that question. Um, at its minimum, like an internship is usually just a seasonal thing, a fall, spring, or summer. A co-op is oftentimes a spring into summer or summer into fall. It can oftentimes be like a rotational type program at a company. There are some students who did a spring summer co-op who are looking to stay through the fall and just delay graduation, if that makes sense, right? So um, it varies based upon, I think, the industry you're in. Like you're not going to find a lot of co-ops in the business field. But I guess Evan, I don't know if there's anything that's
every now and
more.
then you will come across some. It's definitely more in the STEM fields, but every so often you can get
Yeah.
it. Or a lot of times, a company won't define it as a co-op, and you're an intern, but then they like you so much that they keep you on. You work that out. So maybe it wasn't presented that way, but it just happened to turn out after you started working, and they're like, "Oh, we need help with this project, so can you stay?" Or if you ask them. So I don't want to say that it's rarely ever found in other tracks outside of STEM. So.
Yeah. And we see a lot of students who do like, the co-op or the internship leads to a full-time opportunity after graduation as well, like having it serve a little bit like a pipeline, right? And finding those
And I did
opportunities.
and I did want to mention that a lot of employers who come on campus have a certain number of roles that they want to fill for just RPI students. A lot of them are alums who are really champions in their organizations for RPI students, and they want to see X amount hired. That's not always the case, but that's often. So that's why we always encourage students to go to these special events and go to career fairs, because you have alumni that are really looking out for you and really care about you and want you to succeed.
Yeah, absolutely. Someone asked, is it easy to get a co-op internship during the fall or spring as opposed to the summer since Arch is for summer? Which term is easier? So I don't know that one term is easier than the other. There is a benefit of doing it your spring of your junior year because then you could do a co-op into the summer. But if you were assigned the fall semester for Arch and you found a spring and summer opportunity, you could switch your Arch away semester. So it's there is some flexibility in that regard of if you find the opportunity that works better for you is different than the one that you're assigned. There is that
I think
that
your audio is a
flexibility
little
measure in
choppy,
there.
Erica.
Okay. Is it bad
Should
now?
be better.
Okay.
Oh
Did
yeah,
you hear what I just said?
it was something a little choppy, but
Okay.
let us know.
Okay. Sorry. Um, but yeah, Evan, do you want to talk about fall and spring? I mean,
Yeah, I think you're right in that,
opportunities?
one might not be harder than another, but um, really, they're out there. You just kind of have to work with us, and we'll, push them out and help you in any way we can. And a lot of employers are seeing this as an opportunity in a pipeline. So they are creating positions because maybe they only had a summer internship, but really, well, now I can get help year round, and it's not just only the summer, and it's built into your time here at RPI so that you can still graduate on time in 4 years. So that's really a good benefit of the program. And you're also seeing another side of the business, as many businesses are seasonal. So you're stepping outside of just the summer and you're seeing other things, because not only are you going to stop at your art semester, you're going to probably get to do another internship later on. If not, you might have done one right after freshman year, right, over the summer or whenever. So I think it opens up more potential across industries for students.
Yeah, I think the students who are successful in securing fall and spring opportunities are students who are more proactive about their career, and ones that are open-minded about that and engage in things like the career fair, and employer information sessions and things like that. So I just, wherever you go, just be
Yeah,
proactive,
that's
I
very
would
true.
say. And that if someone decides they aren't enjoying the internship they're in, can they terminate it early and find another one? Um, I don't, I don't, from my knowledge, know that that happens a whole lot here. I've never heard of it happening.
Yeah,
That doesn't
because if
mean
you're
it
looking from the
couldn't.
employer standpoint, they've probably already filled their roles, right? So unless you just happen to get one that's halfway through the summer or halfway through the fall semester, so it's kind of it'd be a chance, right? Uh,
Right. Well, I'd be curious, like, why you didn't like it, right? So when you do an internship or a co-op, you're basically enrolled not necessarily for credit in the university, obviously, but you're enrolled in like a LMS system or like a Blackboard system, which keeps you in contact and you do a work report and stay in touch with us. So if you're being assigned to do something that was not made clear in the initial contract, like then there's some intervention efforts that we can do, right? So sometimes um, students come to us and they're like, I'm just not sure. I wasn't expecting to be on this project. Like, can you help me work around this? Does that make sense? So um, in that case, we would interfere on that. We might suggest maybe doing a micro internship or something else, again, by that point, depending on how far into it you are. But there are also scenarios where students like are on their away semester and find an internship opportunity 2 weeks into the semester for the rest of the semester, right? So can't say it's not possible. Um, but again, we're here, we have that team here who's trying to make sure that you feel prepared going into an internship and you feel safe and comfortable and that you're achieving your learning outcomes as part of the internship process. Good questions.
yes, very good questions.
Cool. Okay, want to plug along, Evan? Feel free to jump through any you feel like we already talked about
Okay,
for the
so
purpose of time.
control. Okay. So here it's just showing kind of what the login page looks for students. Where the red box is where you can find events like career fairs, information sessions, and workshops that Erica was talking about that really are for career development and help you with a resume, LinkedIn labs, and all of that. And you'll also see here where there's functionality to present you with the latest jobs up there. And this is, you can't see it really, but it's a scrolling tab. So you can click over and you can set your preferences too. So if you're only looking for electrical engineering jobs in New York City, then you could set that, and that's what you're going to see. So there are plenty of opportunities in the system. We're talking thousands, so there is an opportunity for everyone at pretty much any given point. You just gotta keep checking it and set your favorites and keep up with it, really, because you don't want to miss out on your opportunity. I think a lot of times students might get bogged down with their schoolwork or other extracurricular activities, and it might not be a focus. But like Erica said, those who really make it a focus early on see great results. So I did want to mention that. And here are some other resources. We already mentioned JobLink. CareerShift is really a great tool to have an expanded job search and also how to like look up contact information for different companies. It's free for students. RPI does pay a license for it. It's a great tool. Going Global is pretty much a job board to really aggregate international opportunities for students to look at. It's a great resource. Vault is more of a guide, a resource guide for career development tips and tricks. Interview Stream, students can practice their interviewing through that, and it's led by the Career Development team. Erica, did you want to mention anything about Interview Stream at this time?
No, no, it's a practice interview software system, which is helpful because while we do have the daily walk-in, so sometimes what will happen is you go to a career fair and they do interviews the following day, right? Like they're in town, they want to interview you, right? So you go to the career fair, you get scheduled for an interview. I want to practice, right? So it's like an online practice module, and they also have like a salary negotiation toolkit as well. So just a great resource to have. Most universities have some form of that platform. We can't hear you.
Sorry, I forgot to unmute. So the
That's
handout
okay.
series is really just like resume templates or any other flyers that students receive in print or digitally or through email. So really there's a plethora of opportunities to really learn some new skills and with your career. Okay, so, oh, did I click it back? And then here's just a list of the top 20 most prestigious internship programs for 2020. We do work with a lot of these companies, and some might come to the career fair, some might do information sessions, some might do a combination of them. But we are really focused on providing the best experience for our students and to have relationships with these companies. Um, and continue and going forward too, because a lot of these companies are switching their internships, co-ops to virtual. So it's just kind of a changing game for us, but I think we're well equipped to handle the changes and are adapting appropriately. And then, so this is a great question. So where do RPI graduates go? And in this slide, it really breaks down the US based on different regions. And as you see, 64 in the Northeast. Where do most of our students come from? The Northeast. So the trend really is a lot of students are going to stay with where they're originally from. That's not to mention that they're not open to other places. We don't have 18% of our population from the West, but as you see here, that 18% does go there based on the tech hubs out there in California and all of that. So I think this is just a good representation of the future and what you can expect going forward. Right. And then so any other questions?